The translator on his wrist was still rebooting when Leo Mercer realized the cliff edge he'd parked his diplomatic shuttle on was no longer a cliff edge at all, but an expanding sinkhole with a strong opinion about gravity. He let out a strangled yelp, flailed backward into a low crawl, and landed hard on his rear just as the entire patch of ground hissed, cracked, and collapsed into a purple fog of mineral vapor. Well, he muttered to himself, brushing off moon dust in pride, that's a first. Planet tries to eat the ambassador before I've even insulted anyone. The moon, Calith 3A, uncharted, uninhabitable, and supposedly irrelevant, had been a navigation error. A glitch in Elyari space distorted coordinates, and now he was 2 solar hours from any rescue, with a fried comlink, a broken shuttle, and the local wildlife screaming like tiny banshees at dusk. Leo squinted at the horizon. The jagged spires of a canyon shimmered under the light of a bloated red star, and something metallic glittered in the far distance. A structure? A ship? Or, knowing his luck, a really shiny carnivorous plant. He grabbed his pack, slung it over one shoulder, and began to walk. 2 hours and one deeply personal encounter with a sentient cactus later, Leo stumbled across the entrance to what appeared to be a temple, or a ruin, or maybe just Elyari architecture in the middle of having a nervous breakdown. The structure stood solemn and triangular, half buried in the sand, humming faintly with that low, strange thrum common to technology older than most civilizations. He passed through a translucent threshold that buzzed against his skin like static and stepped into the cool shade of the interior, and stopped. She stood in the center of the chamber, backlit by shafts of pale blue light, filtering through broken glass. Her armor was intricately layered, elegant and brutal all at once, glinting with living circuitry that pulsed like veins. Her long ears twitched slightly at the sound of his entrance. Yellow hair fell in a thick braid down her back, and her eyes, those eyes turned to him with a stare that could melt steel or at least permanently damage one's ego. Great, Leo said. The local war goddess is home. She didn't move, didn't speak, not at first. Then in perfect but frost-edged English, she said, "You have trespassed on sacred ground, human." He raised both hands. "Technically, I crash-landed. There's a difference. One involves intention, the other involves a broken gyroscope and a ship AI that thought a black hole looked cuddly." Her brow arched just slightly. "Also," he added, "you're not supposed to be here either. Last I checked, Elyari royalty doesn't slum it on outlawed moons." A pause, then a quiet, controlled exhale. "I am not here by choice." "Ah, so we're both unwilling guests of the same galactic hospitality program." She turned away from him and began adjusting a panel embedded in the wall, fingers moving with precision and strength. The air in the room thickened. The hum grew louder. "Okay, so this is the part where we either work together or die separately," he said. "Personally, I vote together. I'm very charming when not dehydrated and bleeding internally." "No," she replied. "No to what?" "No to both. You are not charming, and you are not bleeding." Leo peered at his elbow. "Okay, minor bleeding. I stand by it." She paused again. Something flickered across her expression. Doubt, amusement, or indigestion possibly. Elyari facial cues were notoriously tricky. "Who are you?" she finally asked. "Captain Leo Mercer, diplomatic envoy, planetary embarrassment. Depends who you ask. And you must be," he frowned. "You know, I actually don't know your name. Want to exchange life stories over a fire made from awkward silence and crushed expectations?" Her gaze was ice. "I am Saravira, Queen of the Elyari, and this is not a conversation." He blinked, then gave a low, impressed whistle. "Wow, okay. That explains the armor, and the posture, and the vibe of 'I could kill you with my earlobe.'" She turned back to her work, muttering something in Elyari that the translator hadn't caught up to yet. Leo let the silence linger a few beats, then moved slowly toward a secondary console. "What are you trying to fix?" "The environmental regulator. This structure is the only shielded shelter within 100 kilometers. The regulator maintains breathable air." "Oh, so minor importance then." She gave him a look that implied he was lucky to still be breathing any air, breathable or otherwise. "Can I help?" "You may sit and remain silent." He sat. He did not remain silent. So, he said after 30 seconds, this place sacred to your people? Or is that just what you say when you don't want visitors? She sighed. It is sacred and forbidden. Excellent. Love that for us. The regulator gave a sputter, then a sharp hiss. Saravira frowned and stepped back. Leo leaned closer. That's not a normal hiss. Number that is a coolant breach. Oh good, Niton, Leo said. So now the thing keeping us alive wants to explode. Saravira moved quickly, stripping off one layer of her armored glove and thrusting her hand into a glowing panel. Light flared around her wrist, and the humming grew louder, more frantic. Leo watched in stunned awe as the technology responded not just to her touch, but to her very presence, shifting in color and frequency. That's not standard tech. It is Eliari Royal Class Biosynchronic Metal. Sounds expensive. It is alive. Even better. Does it take bribes? She glanced at him. Only in blood. Right. I'll just stay over here. The hum steadied. The hiss died. The air softened, warmed. Saravira withdrew her hand, and for just a moment her shoulders sagged. You fixed it, Leo said. For now. So what's next? Cozy up and wait for rescue? There will be no rescue. Of course there won't, he muttered, because that would be convenient. She lowered herself to sit on the floor, still poised like a coiled weapon. He sat across from her, cross-legged, careful not to lean on anything that might insult him in another language. A long silence stretched. Finally, she spoke again. You should not be here. Neither should you. Their eyes met. And in that strange, suspended moment, something ancient stirred in the dust and circuitry. Not fear, not hostility, something else. He grinned. Well, Your Majesty, if we're breaking rules anyway, want to learn how to play rock, paper, scissors? Saravira had expected many consequences from her choice to remain on Calith. Treason, exile, execution. She had not, however, anticipated the steady deterioration of her patience caused by a man who sang songs to a rock he'd named Carl. It calms the nerves, Leo explained, strumming the jagged edges of Carl like a lute. Music therapy, very popular on Earth. Carl and I are getting through some stuff. She did not reply. Her stomach twisted again, an alien sensation to her, and she'd fought parasites that could scream in 11 dimensions. She placed a hand gently over her abdomen, fingers tingling with unfamiliar energy. No Eliari had ever carried another species child. There was no guidance, no ancient wisdom, just this swelling warmth and chaos, and a man who serenaded stones. It is not safe here, she said without turning. We must move soon. Leo looked up from Carl with mock offense. Are you saying the haunted ruin with the temperamental climate system isn't a perfect maternity ward? I am saying the Eliari will find us. He opened his mouth, thought better of it, and nodded. Yeah. I had a dream last night that someone threw a diplomatic treaty at my head. I woke up with a nosebleed. Might be unrelated. She walked to the console, its lights dimmer now, reacting sluggishly to her touch. The structure was failing, and so was her strength. The pregnancy altered everything, her connection to the biosynchronic systems, her internal regulation of energy. Her skin flickered with faint pulses of light when she stood too quickly, and Leo had taken to calling her glowworm whenever she forgot to glare at him. You're eating less, he said, not looking at her. I noticed, and you're glowing more. Pretty sure that's not normal, unless Eliari have a disco mode I don't know about. She didn't answer. Couldn't. Partly because she didn't know the answer herself, and partly because her body was humming again. The hum came in waves now, centered beneath her ribs, a kind of resonance that sent her balance tilting and her mind spiraling into strange colors. The child was growing. Fast. Leo stood slowly. You need rest. There is no time. There is if we take it, he said. Saravira, you're literally sparking. If you explode, I'm going to be really upset, and also dead. She sat reluctantly, her knees folding in a way that tried to accommodate both dignity and fatigue. Leo crouched nearby, producing from his pack what he proudly referred to as human nutrition squares, which were possibly made of despair and shoe rubber. Eat, he said. I would rather chew metal. These taste like metal, so you're in luck. She accepted the square, chewed once, swallowed with diplomatic detachment. Leo watched her for a while, then shifted closer. I keep wondering if this was supposed to happen. This? You, me, this moon, this baby. She exhaled slowly. Eliari do not believe in fate, he smiled. Humans do. We also believe in coffee that burns your soul and animals wearing costumes. So I'm not saying we're reliable, but maybe this wasn't a glitch. Maybe it was a correction. The console behind them beeped weakly. A flicker of light raced across its surface. Sarah Vera turned her head just enough to catch the signal. Something approaches. Leo's hand went instinctively to his sidearm. A model so outdated even smugglers called it quaint. What is it? She didn't answer right away. Her senses sharpened, the resonance in her chest spiking. She touched the console. The image shimmered. A ship, Eliari class. Not military, but not civilian either. Black hull, red marking. Blood signed, a hunter's vessel. Hunter as in bounty hunter. No, she said, as in Royal Extermination Protocol. Leo's face paled. Ah, the polite kind of death. She stood. Energy flared from her palms. We must leave. Now. They packed quickly. The structure gave one final groan of disapproval as they exited, as if disappointed to see them go. Leo spared a last glance at Carl. Sorry, buddy. We'll always have the chorus. The landscape was cruel. Razor-sharp stones. Wind that whispered secrets no one wanted to hear. Sarah Vera moved with practiced speed despite the growing ache in her limbs. Leo jogged beside her, occasionally swearing at gravity. They reached the ravine by nightfall, the sky above choked with metallic clouds. Sarah Vera paused, scanning the ridge. Down there, she said, a hidden relay station, abandoned decades ago. It may still function. I love maybes, Leo said. They go so well with possibly dying. They slid down the rocky path, Sarah Vera shielding her stomach with her arm as tremors began again. Small, fluttering things beneath the skin. Inside her, something was shifting. The station was a rusted dome covered in sand and half-eaten by moss. The door responded to her touch, reluctantly, coughing out a burst of stale air and a faint groan. They stepped inside. Dust swirled in the dim light. The air carried a faint tang of copper and ozone. Consoles lined the walls, flickering erratically. Leo found a seat shaped like a cruel joke and sat down with a groan. This place is cozy, if cozy meant haunted by mechanical regrets. Sarah Vera moved to the main console and began syncing her pulse with its systems. The response was immediate, faster than expected. The station was old, yes, but not dead. This could work, she said. We can send a pulse, a false trail. Make them think we're somewhere else? She nodded. He whistled. I love it when you get all subversive. It's very espionage meets maternal glow. She ignored him. Her hand trembled as she calibrated the signal. The station resisted, then relented. A spike of data fired into the void. Coordinates. A ghost. The hum in her chest answered, louder than before. She gripped the edge of the console, eyes wide. Sarah Vera? Leo was standing now. What's happening? She sank to her knees. It's the child, she whispered. He moved fast, kneeling beside her. What do I do? Is there an Eliari Lamaze method? Should I rub your ears? She laughed, sharp and breathless. Number just stay. He did. They waited there, beneath the failing lights and ancient machines, surrounded by echoes of forgotten science. She breathed. He counted. Outside, the storm began. The station's walls throbbed faintly now, responding to the subtle shifts in pressure, vibration, heartbeat. Everything had gone quiet inside Sarah Vera. No more tremors, no more flickering lights under her skin. Just an immense, humming stillness, the kind of quiet that came before things broke open, or never broke again. Leo had constructed a makeshift cot from decommissioned data pads and what appeared to be the top half of an ancient translator droid. The droid occasionally muttered in defunct trade dialects, mostly curses, which Leo insisted added charm. Saravira lay back, her breath controlled but shallow. Sweat glistened across her brow. Leo sat beside her with all the calm of a squirrel in a thunderstorm. "You're doing great," he said. "At least I think you are. I've never done this before. Not even the Earth version. But you're glowing again, and that seems like a positive sign. Unless it means you're overheating, in which case we should probably crack a window." "Do not crack anything," she said between breaths. He nodded solemnly. "No cracking, copy that. We're on a strict no-crack policy." Her fingers tightened around the edge of the cot as another wave hit. Something shifted deep inside. Something not just biological. It was like the resonance of two species realigning their physics mid-birth. She could feel it, the molecular negotiation. This wasn't just a birth. It was a rewriting. Outside, thunder rolled. The hunter ship had landed an hour ago, just over the ridge, dark and silent. No weapons had fired yet, which meant they were being watched. Leo had wanted to escape again. She had said no. She was tired of running. This was where it would happen, whatever it was. Either the end or something else. He moved to the console again, tapping keys in a rhythm she recognized now as nervous fidgeting. "I've rerouted the station's pulse again," he said, "threw a decoy into the methane fields. Maybe they'll chase ghosts for a while." "They won't." "Sure they will. Who wouldn't chase a good ghost? That's the essence of optimism." A new contraction overtook her, and she groaned, this time less from pain than from sheer surprise. The sensation was like being hollowed out and filled with light. Her hands lit up again, and so did her eyes, and for a moment the whole station was bathed in pale, pulsing blue. Leo stared. "Okay, now I'm definitely underqualified. Are you going supernova? Do I need to evacuate my soul?" "I am not exploding. Just checking." The child was close now. She could feel its pulse nested inside hers, its shape unfamiliar and sacred. Something between, something new. Footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. Leo froze. His hand went to his weapon. Then, remembering it only held one charge and a grudge, he lowered it. The door opened. Saravira didn't look up. She couldn't. But Leo turned, arms up in something halfway between surrender and sarcasm. "Gentlemen," he said to the armored figures, "if you're here for the show, I charge extra for front row seats." 3 Eliari stepped inside. Hunters, yes, but not dressed for violence. No blades drawn. One held a device scanning the air. Another looked at Saravira, then down at the cot. Their leader, a tall female with markings that shimmered like constellations, stepped forward. "She lives," Leo blinked. "We're going with observation as your opening move? Not, hey, you committed interstellar treason?" "She lives," the woman repeated, eyes on Saravira. "And the child is intact." Saravira managed a whisper. "You came to destroy us." "No," the woman said. "We came to see if the legends were true." "Legends," Leo said. "Okay, who's been leaking our plot arc?" The Eliari knelt, not as a servant kneels, as a witness kneels. Her face softened. "It should not be possible," she said, "but the void shifts, and sometimes, so must we." Another contraction, deeper this time, and Saravira cried out. The energy flared again, casting shadows of all their species across the wall. Human, Eliari, and something brighter. Minutes stretched. The child came not with screaming but with light, a pulse like a song being born. Saravira felt the shift in gravity, in meaning. Leo caught the child in trembling hands and for once said nothing at all. He passed the newborn to Saravira, his expression unreadable, caught between awe and hilarity. "She has ears," he whispered. "Long ones." Saravira looked down, and a laugh broke from her chest. Unexpected, raw, full of something she'd never let herself feel before. "Of course she does," she said. "She is ours." The Eliari leader approached slowly. "You have named her?" Leo opened his mouth. Saravira beat him to it. "Solari." There was a silence that wasn't empty. The hunters bowed their heads. "Solari," the woman echoed. "The bridge." Leo rocked back on his heels. "That's either poetic or prophetic, and I'm too sleep-deprived to know which." Later, after the station dimmed to its usual gloom and the baby slept curled in the crook of Saravira's arm, Leo sat beside her. So, not dead, not arrested, and not exploded. No, she said softly. Not any of those. We're parents. Apparently. I'm going to need some kind of manual or a laser-proof diaper. You'll adapt. He leaned back, watching the stars through the cracked ceiling. She's going to change everything, isn't she? She already has. The hunters departed at dawn. No threats, no charges. Just a message relayed through light. The future has already begun. They stayed a while longer, repaired what they could, sent signals. Buried Carl beneath the station, with honors Leo insisted were both noble and completely made up. When they finally left the moon, it was aboard a vessel cobbled together from human salvage and Eliari tech, flying under no flag but one of silence and stars. Their course was unknown, their path unwritten, but the child in Sarah Vera's arms glowed faintly in her sleep, and every now and then, Leo swore he could hear her humming,